What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got another updated deck profile. This time we're looking at Unchained. It's been a minute. This is an update, obviously, but we've got a new ban list. We got a couple new cards. I've kind of adjusted the way that I like to build the decks. This one's going to be pretty different from the last time I uploaded an Unchained deck profile. But I really love this archetype. I love how easily like one card can just like be your engine. Obviously, two cards is going to be better, but sometimes just even like a handful of hand traps and setting one of your normal summonable monsters can get you there. So yeah, I just love that. This deck is really cool. It plays a really interesting game. This build is particularly, I guess, kind of like supposed to be a versatile version of it. You can go first because you don't, ideally, I don't want to opt second in a format where we have stuff like Dragon Link and Infernoble that are going to like just do some busted things going first that you just, doesn't even matter if you're playing a hard going second deck, you're just not going to beat that way very consistently. So I have a deck that can do both. It can be decent going second, while at the same time you want to opt first and still set up some plays and get your engine going and just make it hard for your opponent to really crack through your engine and cut it off. So that's what we're looking at today. So without further ado, let's just get into it with the monsters. Starting off here, we are on 3 copies of Unchained Aruha, 3 copies of Unchained Twin Rakia, and 2 copies of Unchained Twin Sarama. So these are my small monster lineups, 3, 3, and 2. This is fairly standard. Some people like 3 Sarama. Here's the thing. I think Sarama is the most powerful one of the 3, but Sarama is the worst one of the 3 to open turn 1. So that's why I'm playing it at 2. I don't really want to open it. I want to go into it later in the duel. So that's why I think 2 is correct there. That's never really changed for me. As far as these go, I think Aruha is probably the best one overall. This one in particularly allows you to play through disruption better than any of the other ones. It specials itself from the hand. It still has that same float effect. It's incredibly good, and I've come to appreciate Rakia more than I used to in the past as well. This card's much better than I thought it was. Popping your own stuff is actually gives you potential disruption, gives you extension, just gives you so much. I really think this card, I definitely underrated this card when it was out before, but I definitely appreciate it a lot more now. Which takes us to our boss guys in the main deck. We've got 2 copies of Abominable Unchained Soul and only 1 copy of Unchained Soul of Disaster. Jeez, I'm flubbing today. Yeah, this is a weird ratio. Not really weird ratio. It's become more and more standard. This card is not really that much of a brick. That's why I don't mind playing him at 2. And ideally, there are duels where you need to go into more than 1 in a duel. And then this guy's the biggest brick in your deck. He is a straight up garnet. There's only 1 card that unbricks this guy, and it's Abominable Chamber of the Unchained. So yeah, like a 3 of is the only card that unbricks this guy, so you really don't want to draw him. I used to play 2 because sometimes 2 could come up in a grindier match. I'm going to survive off of just 1. That's plenty good for me. I think that's okay because the deck still handles itself without him totally fine. So just 2 and 1 for those, and that finishes up for our Unchained monsters. By the way, Konami, go ahead and give us Sarama's twin, right? Because we assume Rakia and Aruha are their own twins. We got Sarama, but Sarama's a twin, but where's his twin? Right? Like, what? Come on. Give us another twin, please. Please. Another good twin that, like, extends. If it was, like, what if it was, like, Aruha? Like, but from grave. Like I said, if it's in grave and you can pop a card you control and special itself from grave, that would be so nasty. Card would be so good in the deck. All right. Anyway, for the rest of the monsters, pretty standard here. It's just hand traps. You got to play them, I think, right now. With the best decks being like Infernal Knights, Dragon Link, Adamantimator's still good, but I don't know how crazy they are, and like dinosaurs. Going first dinosaurs, like combo dinos, are still like really scary. So 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Valor, 2 copies of Crow, and 1 copy of Ghost Ogre. So this is my hand trap lineup for the monsters. I think this is pretty good. I really like Ash right now because particularly it hits 3 tax and Gamma and stops them from resolving, which is huge. 3 tax is just like one of the new hot meta like techs that everybody's trying out, and Gamma's huge. Like this deck, especially if you have a weaker hand, just getting Gamma can really like end your turn. So I really like being able to stop Gamma, even though it does still stick in the hand, but we'll still take that. Just so versatile. Valor I particularly love because it hits Verte Anaconda, so you can stop them from going into Dragoon, because this deck definitely struggles to get rid of a card like Dragoon. 2 copies of DD Crow, and then the Ogre. I like Crow right now. I think in the format it's actually like really good. You're hitting Miscellaneous Swords versus Dinos. You're hitting any Eldritch Spell Trap or Golden Lord himself with this card. Very good in that matchup. Hitting versus Adamantipator. If they use Signs, you're hitting something. If they're I don't know, anything. You could hit a water from their graves that they can't even use Dragite's effect to bounce or something. Like, I don't know, there's utility there. It's not the best versus them because usually you were hitting block before, but still, it's a pretty cool card. And then Ghost Ogre just kind of had one more slot left for hand traps, and I like the 12 number because we are playing 3 impermanents that we'll see later on, but yeah, I just didn't want to play 3 Crow because there are matchups where it's not amazing, and you don't want to ever see multiple of it, but there are matchups where this plus another hand trap is really, really good. So I actually think Crow's just pretty good in almost every single matchup in the game at the moment, like as far as meta stuff goes. And Ogre has its own place too. There, which takes us to our spell cards. We're on 3 copies of Abomination's Prison. This card's insane. It's one of the best cards in the deck. Just searches you any Unchained card. I love it. It's insane. 1 copy of Wailing of the Unchained. This card's kind of like hit or miss. Like, you gotta love it. You either love this card or you hate this card. I don't know if I'm either. No, I guess I love it. I think I just like it as a one-of. There are situations where you might just consider going Abomination's Prison into Wailing just because maybe you can set up the link too, but you don't really have any other disruption outside of that, and you don't want to go the escape route, because escape's fine, but you don't want to pop your own monster given the board state. So sometimes just going that way, you can do the link off and then just pop another card with this, which is pretty cool. So it comes up in worst case scenario. This is what I like so much about all the Unchained spells and traps. Even if this card isn't particularly good, set it. If you don't pop it, your opponent might pop it, and you just get a free summon from deck. So, like, that's what I like about all of them. They're so, like, dual utility. Like, they can just do their thing, their main thing that they do, or worst case scenario, you pop it yourself, you get a free summon. You're good to go. 3 Extravagance. I know this takes away a lot of the budgetness that you've seen so far from the deck, but yeah, I think this card's almost mandatory. It's only like 25 bucks now, so it's much more affordable than it was before, but I think this card's really important in the deck. This card is a very good card. It's just saying, if you have Ash, you got to throw it at this, because you just don't want us to go super crazy plus. And if you don't have Ash, we're just going to have so many cards. We're going to be able to extend through disruptions. We're going to be able to just like set up multiple disruptions. We're just going to have so much. Draws you into hand traps, draws you into your engine, draws you into everything. And the extra deck really only needs particularly 1 card. That's super important. But obviously we're playing that at 3, so not as big a deal. All right, for the rest of the spells, the utility stuff, 2 Cosmic, 1 Called. Cosmic is just really nice for this deck, specifically versus like Eldritch and Dogmatica, stuff like that, other back row decks. Just nice to hit that stuff. And I would love to play something like MST, because at least MST would have the versatility of like popping your own spells and traps to get yourself a special if you were at that moment in time like not able to get into your engine. But I just think this is more important right now with Eldritch still being one of the best decks. You really want to get those cards banished, not destroyed. So, yep, that's fine. And then the Called. Ash can be kind of annoying for this deck, especially with certain combos, like turn 1. If they just like Ash you, you're just like, oh, that sucks. Or if they use some kind of removal to just pop you and then they Ash you and you have no other cards to get you into your engine, they could just beat you because you can't get back into your engine. So the 1 Called is nice, just a fine utility card. I've always liked Called, but yeah, if Crossout Designator came out, I think we would be able to find some other slots in the deck for that card, because that card's like so good and you can play a ton of hand traps in the deck. So pretty cool, pretty cool. So that is it for the spells. 10 spells, 20 monsters, which takes us to our traps. We're on 3 copies of Abominable Chamber of the Unchained and 3 Escape of the Unchained. These cards are awesome. This card in particular is so good. It's just a follow-up play, or you pop it's just extend. So good. It special summons an Unchained monster either from hand or grave, so you can unbrick the big dog from your hand, or you just extend by reviving stuff, and that includes stuff like your link monsters. You can revive the Unchained links, which are really cool. And yeah, this card's awesome. And then Escape. It's another cool card. It gives you disruption, pops any Unchained card you control and a card your opponent controls. But all your stuff floats. So not everything your opponent has is going to float. So you make up for that 2 for 1 by just going plus off of whatever you popped, and it's totally fine. And then for the rest of the traps, we're on 3 in perm. Already said we're playing that. Pair that with our other 9 hand traps. We've got 12 in the main, so we feel pretty comfortable going second. And Unchained's already actually like a decent archetype going second as is. So I'll tell you that. And then the last card in the deck is Skill Drain. This card is what makes me like, I don't know. It's just like a power one of. If you go first and you see this card, it's going to feel really good because some decks just lose this. Adamantipator, game 1 with no siding, just loses to this straight up. You flip this, they just like scoop like immediately. They have no out to this, and all your stuff floats. And that's the idea here. You flip this, you've got Chunguses on board, or if you don't even have Chunguses and you just have like the small guys, if they beat you by battle, boom, you get into a Chungus because you activate Engrave. If you get destroyed by a spell or trap, boom, you're getting back into a big monster, and it's hard for your opponent to deal with. So that's why I really like Skill Drain. Some decks just can't play under this, but most of our effects are engraved. So yeah, really like Skill Drain in the deck, and that's my 40th card. Obviously, that could be a side deck card. Obviously, you could look at potentially playing stuff like 3 Tax or Forbidden Droplet in the deck. I just didn't think Forbidden Droplet had like particularly amazing synergy with this archetype in general. Like, has amazing synergy with something like Burning Abyss, which is the last deck profile I did. Like updating, but this deck doesn't have as good synergy with Forbidden Droplets in my opinion, so I decided not to play it, but I definitely would think about it. I also just don't have it yet because it's crazy expensive right now. I might wait a while to get that card, see if it drops ever, but yeah, that is it for the main. 40 cards of the main. We're trying to keep it consistent, which takes us to our extra deck. We're on 3 copies of Unchained, Soul of Rage. This card is the best. This is the main card that you have to worry about keeping alive through Extravagance because it's insane. This card just says, as a quick effect during your opponent's main phase, you can target a special summon monster they control, link it off with this card into a Dark Link monster that is appropriate, and that's dope. I mean, I just think that's so strong. You know what I mean? Just take them both off the field and move your way. He also floats if he's destroyed by battle or card effect. He can add any Unchained monster, I believe. Specifically monster. Oh, any Fiend monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. So that's pretty cool. I almost thought about playing Skullmeister instead of DD Crow just because like of interactions like that. Because there are like some things where you like get locked into Fiends. This adds generically any Fiend back. But Skullmeister, I think DD Crow specifically has better interactions than Skullmeister at the moment. But maybe if you wanted to side Skullmeister versus a really heavy back row deck, or not back row deck, like graveyard centric deck, like you could play both and then you could have synergies there. That'd be cool. And then you get into the rest. Run 3 copies of Unchained, Soul of Anguish. This is mainly your follow-up. You're going to link Rage into this guy, and then this guy's a main phase effect to do that same thing, just not a quick effect. Link it off with an opponent's monster. I'm playing 3 here. I just don't have the 3rd. I only had 2, so whatever. But we are playing Extravagance, so I would like to play 3 of this guy. He's your main play most of the time, and he has the same float effect, I believe. Yep, when you target a Fiend monster, grave and add it back to your hand. So both very nice there. And then for our main boss monster, run 2 copies of Unchained Abomination. I just don't think 3 is that necessary. You don't even go into him that many times, that often. You really just, you win a lot of duels without even worrying about him. But he's really cool. He just pops a ton of stuff. He's like, battle phase, pop a card. End phase, pop a card. Oh, I destroyed a card. Let me pop another card. It's crazy. This card just destroys so much and can just wipe your opponent's field and just put them with no resources. So very, very nasty there. And what's really cool is if you can link into him on your opponent's turn, it kind of just tells your opponent, like, don't set a card because I'm just going to pop it on end phase, and can put some of them in such an awkward position. And then for some other links, generic stuff, 1 Phoenix. It's just nice. Like, the deck doesn't have a ton of back row removal. It's all like whatever the pop effects are, but that's a lot of monster effects. So I like playing Phoenix just as a potential utility card, just to get rid of a back row floodgate, anything that's like really annoying at any given time. So yeah, Phoenix is kind of cool. 2 copies of Unicorn. One thing that people sometimes overlook with Unchained. Oh, my camera's flubbing up. What's going on? Oh god. Okay, there we go. Oh my god, what just happened? 2 copies of Unicorn. Some people overlook the interaction between quick linking into this on your opponent's turn. That way you steal a monster to link into this, and then on summon you discard a card to spin another card. So that's pretty nasty in my opinion. It's 2 removals at the exact same time, and yeah, that's dope. So 2 of that's you're mainly going into him or Anguish most of the time off of Rage. And then we have 2 Topologics, Zeroboros and Trisbana. I think they're both really good, particularly Trisbana, because you can link off on your opponent's turn into Trisbana if you know the matchup, and then they're just like, oh, I'm playing Guru, I'm playing Altergeist. Now I can't set anything, because if I do, he probably has a way to extend a monster into Trisbane's zone, and then he's just going to like banish every card I have and burn me for a bunch, and then I lose. So it's pretty cool when it comes up huge versus those matchups. And then Zerboris, sometimes he's just like a win condition. He's such a good card sometimes. There's stuff like versus Dragoon. This is one of the few outs in your deck to just getting Dragoon out of there. Dragoon's like a problem for this deck for sure, but you know what I mean. It's just one of those things. And then 1 copy of Access Code Talker, which I don't have because it's crazy expensive. Yeah, not too much to say here. Like, you can also quick link into this or use your guys to link up into this because he is dark, and he will get his effects, and then he's like your OTK piece. So I just felt like he was really good, just the fact that he's a dark, so he has like that synergy with the deck. And then the last card in the extra deck is just Unchained. Like, I had an extra slot and I didn't really know what to use on it. Technically, you could put like a Super Poly target so that you could side Super Poly and try and just like beat Dragoon via Super Poly. If you wanted to, that's up to you though. I have Unchained here just because if Dogmatica goes Maximus, if they play the greedy build and they have Maximus, they send this, you can like kind of hurt their play a little bit, so it's not as strong, just for free. And yeah, so this could be a lot of slots. This could be a huge flex spot for whatever you want in here, but I just have this for now. It could easily be Super Poly stuff, whatever. Cyber Dragon or Chimera Tech, Mega Fleet Dragon if you're really worried about Cyber Dragons on the come up. I don't know, but yeah. That's going to do it for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you know what to do. Leave any suggestions on the build down below. If there's anything that you didn't see here that you think could be particularly good in Unchained, definitely let me know. I'm always taking suggestions. I'm just one guy building these decks, and I'd love to hear other thoughts and opinions and potential texts and stuff on the build. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more deck profiles from me in the future, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.